I remember as a kid watching the original, that kind of shaking me up just because of like how violent it looked on screen. And in this one too, like it's the same deal. Like they kind of convulse before they turn into whatever they're turning into, like mouse or rat.
I love
And like
how
if you
they
watch
all explode out of the ass.
yeah, yeah.
When the potion finally gets a hold of them, they all just like fart
It's all like purple
into
too, right?
oblivion.
Yeah,
And it's like throughout the whole movie, it's like every single one,
yeah.
they just fucking explode, fart, and turn into something else.
Hey, El Toddo,
What's going on?
we got a podcast, The Buff and the Blazer. If I was a listener, where would I go to find more?
You can check us out on our website, thebuffandtheblazer.com. Drew over there writes a article that goes along with every single episode.
You can find all kinds of little extras on the articles, and you can listen to the podcast right there. Also, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, we're on Twitter at Buff and Blazer. Follow us there.
Get those clicks, people.
The Buff and the Blazer.
Welcome to the Buff and the Blazer, episode 44. I'm Drew, and as always, I'm here with my good buddy, Mr. El Toddo.
Yo, dude.
What's up, man?
Nothing much. It's starting to get cold. And
Yeah?
I like it.
Me too. I'm so sick of the hot weather out here.
And I like this Halloweeny time of year.
Oh, yeah, Halloweeny. Speaking of Halloweeny. All right, so let's just preface this, though. Like, in terms of all the review talk going on this week, it's all about Borat. I didn't see a whole lot on the film we're going to talk about this week, and I thought it'd be a good one to talk about because it's one of the few new movies coming out, and it's Halloween week. So the movie we're going to discuss this episode is The Witches, 2020 remake, directed by Robert Zemeckis. And I guess a bit of housekeeping we want to talk about, like with our schedule coming up.
All right.
We're still trying to figure out whether we'll be able to release something this next week or not. We're both going to be kind of busy with our day job work,
Out of town.
on the road. But I'm pretty sure the film we're going to be discussing in episode 45 is going to be Borat.
And hopefully release it on the election night.
Yeah, on election night.
End
Get
of the
your
world.
minds off of all this chaos. So it'll be a good time for a crazy day. So that's kind of the schedule moving forward. But either way, we'll get that out at some point, and we'll have episode 45 for everyone. But for now, we'll jump into a bit of The Witches, directed by Robert Zemeckis. El Toddo, I wasn't sure about this film because it's a PG film. It's a kid film. And I was really curious to see what your reaction was going to be watching it. So what did you think?
Well, I had a pretty bad attitude about it the second I saw it was a PG movie and I saw the poster. Because you just told me this is the movie we're doing.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know. I didn't see a trailer. I didn't know who was in it. I don't know anything about this children's story.
Sure.
Or the first movie that was made.
Right.
And I saw the poster and I was like, dude, is this a little kid musical? Like, I had a pretty bad attitude when I hit play on the old HBO Max.
Hey, it's a fair assessment because Anne Hathaway's been in some musicals.
I was scared you pulled a fast one on me and snuck a musical in there without me even knowing it. But I will say, as soon as the movie started and Chris Rock was the narrator, I was like completely on board because he's one of my favorite comedians of all time. He's awesome.
Sweet.
And so that brought me around right away, and I was like, oh, if he's in it, I need to pay attention and give it a fair shake, right?
Sure.
And so, like, an overall impression, it was fairly entertaining.
Uh-huh.
The whole storyline and stuff I wasn't terribly engaged in because it's like a little kid fairy tale.
Sure.
But the visuals and the CGI in the movie was so damn good that it was like pretty entertaining just visually.
Yeah.
And that really, kind of brought it around for me. And I had a decent time. I wouldn't say I thought it was the greatest movie ever, but
Yeah.
I wasn't terribly disappointed in it. Kind of like
cool,
right down the middle. It kept me entertained with the visuals, even though I wasn't interested in the story really at all.
Okay, cool.
What about you?
That's a lot better than I thought it was going to affect you. For me, there was a couple of specific reasons why I thought this would be cool. Aside from like a nostalgia factor, because I used to watch the original as a kid all the time.
Okay, so you got some connection to it.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't seen it since, I think the last time I saw that film was in the 90s. So that one came out in 1990, and Angelica Houston was in it. And, the witches in that movie as a kid were pretty creepy to me, because they look completely different than the ones in this film. But I think the most intriguing thing for me was that this film was directed by Robert Zemeckis.
Okay.
So the guy who brought you, the Back to the Future trilogy,
Oh.
Forrest Gump,
Oh, shit.
all these huge just pillar films. So he's directing it. It has Anne Hathaway in the lead role, Octavia Spencer. These are Academy Award winners. And then the screenplay is co-written by Robert Zemeckis, Kenyon Barris, and then Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, shit.
So this film had the trimmings of something really, really good. So right off the bat, I was like, man, I think we should do this. And then on top of that, it being Halloween week. So anyways, for me, the film, it was okay. It wasn't bad. I liked some of the fresh angles that they brought to it in terms of it's kind of set in the mid to late 60s.
Mm-hmm.
It takes place in the U.S. I don't think the original took place in the U.S. And it took place modern day in 1990. So that was cool. I really liked the cast. The creatives behind it, I think, are some of the biggest names out there. And in terms of the story, it's pretty much on par with what was done in the 90s. I've never read the book because this is based off of Roald Dahl's one of his books.
Okay.
And in terms of the darkness, I think this film isn't as dark as the original in some ways, but in other ways, it's pretty dark. I think in the original film, something happens to the kid and the film turns out a certain way. In this one, it turns out completely differently.
Okay.
I don't want to say specifically what that is. I think we can avoid spoilers in this one as best as possible because this is brand spanking new.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, last night, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I think overall, it's a film I think people will get enjoyment out of, especially young kids or families looking to get into the Halloween mood and watch something fun. I thought the film was fun, and Anne Hathaway I thought did a pretty good job. So yeah, it was about where I expected it to be. I wasn't expecting to get my socks blown off.
I kind of get the feeling the whole time that this movie had the potential to be really, really scary for kids.
Yeah.
Because the CG was so good,
Mm-hmm.
especially with her whole mouth situation.
Yeah.
And I felt like they kind of held back to make it still family friendly, right? So
Yeah.
so it wasn't too scary for a kid.
It wasn't trying to be scary.
It was
they
more
were intentional.
more fun, right?
Sure. So I think that's another reason too why I don't think you can really knock it for not being scary enough because I don't think that was their intention.
But couldn't in a different world, couldn't you see this as rated R and really, really, really good?
Absolutely. Yeah. If Guillermo del Toro directed something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this could be a really creepy, that would have been something different if they redid it in an R rating. Just considering that it's a remake of a 1990s film.
Because it had all those little nudges of holy shit, that is pretty scary looking, right?
Right.
And then it was still kind of in this a little bit bubbly kind of mood the whole movie. But you could see glimpses oh man, if this was really dark, I would absolutely love it. As an adult, right?
Right. Yeah, and it has kind of a quirkiness to it, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Especially Anne Hathaway in that role. There's something kind of there is something dark about the character she's playing, but also kind of playful. Almost like the way the Joker is, kind of.
Which Joker, right?
Yeah.
Not the most
Like-
recent one.
Yeah,
She's
no,
not that dark at all.
No. But in terms of like the quirkiness of her character, it's like there's some legitimately funny parts that she's in.
Yeah, it's pretty like outlandish and over the top super performance, right?
Yeah.
It's like a Johnny Depp wacky level.
That's a good way of
on
putting it.
character.
Yeah, that's a good comparison, I think. And she just seemed like she was having a blast. I thought that it seemed like she was really into it. But let's talk a little bit about the story. Let me ask you, what did you think of the setting and like the time period?
That was probably my favorite part of the whole story.
Okay, cool.
How it was set in Alabama, and the period was cool. There was still a lot of like those like evil Southern racist overtones
Yeah, uh-huh.
at the hotel and whatnot.
And there's kind of like an element of voodoo, right? That they talk about a little bit.
Yeah, like,
Kind of.
like a old, I guess, what is the word, pagan type
Yeah.
religious stuff that's still like woven. It still kind of has a presence in the culture, I guess.
Right.
And yeah, that's probably what I enjoyed the most about the whole thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I loved all the Frenchiness at the hotel, like the chef and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite. I like that a lot more than like the struggle, right?
Yeah.
The protagonist antagonist struggle.
The original almost, it was like it took place on some coastal, like eastern seaboard type area, and the hotel was like real swanky up on the cliffs.
Okay.
So this one was like a real departure from that.
Yeah,
and I
this
really
was
appreciated
like a
it.
plantation hotel vibe.
Yeah, for sure. And that's actually one of the elements of the film I was surprised to see, how they they don't like dive into it a whole bunch, but it's there, like the race relations, like the racial tension during this period.
Mm-hmm.
I liked how it was constantly there, and even in the hotel, like between the guests and the workers, like there's like a surface level like racial tension that's always there.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see in a film like this. I didn't think they were even going to go there, but it was kind of cool to see. I think it made the film more authentic in the time period it was in.
Right,
I
it's
think,
like-
and the location.
It's better to acknowledge it and show it, but
Right.
not beat you over head with a message about it, but just like be real.
Right, for
like
sure.
the tension was like I like that.
And then I love the sequence that takes place in like when you have a flashback and it takes place in like a Hooverville,
Yeah.
and you see like the poverty going on. And I think they mention it that like in this version of the story, the witches kind of feast on the downtrodden like populations because no one cares if they go missing.
Yeah.
So that's like all part of that racial element that they don't really dive into, but it's there on the surface. And I'm kind of glad they keep it that way. It's like a PG film. It doesn't need to be real heavy or have a real like serious message.
Yeah, because kids pick up subtlety, right?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I was actually kind of surprised to see that, and it was refreshing. Where were you expecting this film to go? Like, because you hadn't watched any trailers, right?
No, I didn't know anything about it.
Okay.
But like basically when you find out who's good and who's evil, you know where it's done, and then it's basically like a Chippendales episode from then on out. Right, like with the villain. And
Yeah, you're talking about like Rescue Rangers,
Yeah.
Chippendale?
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, right? The
Yeah.
cartoon is like
Right.
late 80s, early 90s.
Yep.
It's exactly a plot of one of those episodes.
That's a good point.
But I tell you, I knew where it was going the whole time, and I knew they weren't going to throw any crazy like twists in it because
Yeah.
it wasn't that kind of movie. It almost had like a cartoon
Sure.
type of feel. So like I just was like trying to enjoy it for the little visual things.
Okay, let me ask you this, because we're going to avoid spoilers, but I do want to ask you about a particular moment or part of the film. But was there anything that kind of threw you for a loop watching the film where you were like, oh, you weren't expecting something to happen? Aside from like it not being a musical.
No, dude.
Okay, all right.
No, not at all.
Okay, so even like I'll ask you now, like the very final end of the film, were you expecting it to end that way with
With the kitty?
the kid? Yeah.
No, not the kid, but the cat.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, the kid first. Okay, so you weren't expecting that?
Yeah, dude. I knew all of it. They keep showing the cat throughout that whole scene out on the porch, out on the patio, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty obvious type of. How do I say that without giving it away? It's an obvious struggle in the animal kingdom that's fairly common.
Yeah. No. Okay, yeah, I get what you're talking about. No, I'm talking about the grandson, the kitty, like the kid.
Chris Rock,
Yeah.
or
Were you surprised at all where that ended up at the very end?
yeah, okay. I will say I was expecting it to come back around.
Me too.
Okay, yeah,
Okay, and in
I get
the
what you're
original,
saying now.
in the original, it does.
Oh, okay.
In this one, it doesn't.
Oh, cool.
So that threw me for a loop. I was like, oh, wow. So when I'm saying like this film is darker in other ways, that's what I'm particularly talking about.
Okay.
And I thought it was kind of cool, like, to see that. All right, yeah.
Yeah, because no. To be fair, you know, I expected it to
Go full circle.
get figured out, and everything be
Right.
back to normal. And then I was gonna try and find out who was playing the voice of Daisy, because I thought I was gonna get to see it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I recognized her voice right away. And did you see who played the voice of Daisy?
No, I'm looking for it right now.
So it's Kristen Chenoweth. She's like huge in the musical community.
Okay.
She did the Wizard of Oz musical, the one about the witch though, that like reimagining they did.
I don't even know.
Oh, gosh,
Oz?
fuck me.
No.
Yeah, right? Is that what it's called?
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I'm
But she
throwing
was in that.
darts.
Yeah. So basically, the musical that is all about the Green Witch and how she became evil. Like she was huge. She got like huge because of that play.
Okay, I've seen her before.
So yeah, she played the voice of Daisy. I also thought it was weird that like the two main characters, like Grandma and her grandson, they don't have names in the movie.
Oh, that's an interesting point. I didn't even notice that. Yeah, Hero
Yeah.
Boy,
Yeah, they don't even have names.
played by Josiah Bruno,
Right.
and then Octavia Spencer as Grandma. Yeah, I didn't even notice that, to be honest. What?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think, how was she addressed at the hotel? Was it just like ma'am or something?
Yeah, I think it was just ma'am.
Yeah.
I mean, since we're kind of touching on that, is there anything else you wanted to mention about the story that stood out to you before we move on?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, it was. I enjoyed the fat kid. How
yeah.
he was weaved into it.
Bruno.
But as far as, you know, conflict and resolution and all the character interplay and stuff, it was kind of like just like a little kid
Sure.
fairy tale set up for another episode next week, right?
Yeah. All right, cool.
That's the feeling I got from it.
Yeah.
I'll say this: I didn't have any sort of like payoff or emotional connection at the end. I was just literally in it for how sweet the visuals were the whole time.
Oh, cool. All right.
And the story could have gone anyway. I was hoping like right when the really cool CG started with the witch in the grocery store.
Yeah, with the snake.
Yeah, with the snake and stuff. I don't know why they put some big old fangs on that constrictor. You know, that's a.
I don't know. Well, it's because it's a magic snake.
I know, but like, it's totally, you know, python head, and then you put big old viper fangs on him. Like, you don't got to do that. Just.
Maybe they were trying to take out the phallic look of the serpent coming out of the arm.
But right when that happened, I was like, "Oh shit!" The visual, the CGI is like really kind of cool and like could be really magical, right?
Oh yeah.
Like
What did you think of the Grand High Witch's cat?
That was he was a little off.
2 CG.
Yeah,
Okay.
but everything else I thought was quite nice.
I was trying to remember how they did the mice in the original, and it looked like it was like claymation or something. Because I remember it looking pretty good, and then I went back and I'm like, oh, it looks awful. So this one was really good.
A lot of movies from the 90s, right? You think they're awesome in your memory, and you go back and they're completely awful. I remember I was in a hotel like recently, in the last year, and Titanic was on one of the channels,
Oh yeah.
And it's been so long since I've had TV that like I just never see those random movies on
Right.
channels unless I'm in a hotel. And Titanic was on, and I was just like, God, this is awful. Like,
Which part?
The whole thing, like every bit that I saw, I was like, God, this looks so bad. And like I saw that movie in the theater when I was a kid and shit, and I
Yeah.
remember it being like epic. And it was like the scene where homeboy falls off the boat and hits the propeller.
Oh, that looks bad.
And I
remember
was
that
like, I remembered it in my head as being like
Yeah.
epic and awesome in the movie theater, and I saw it
Right.
just in a hotel. I was like, man, this looks awful, and that's not nearly as old as I thought it was.
yeah. Now I got to go back and watch Titanic.
Have fun.
All right. Yeah, thanks. That's a little side note I wasn't expecting. All right. So we talked about you liked Chris Rock because he comes in right away. He's the narrator.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool too.
it immediately hooked me
Yeah.
because
And he's like being Chris Rock. Like that's what was cool about it.
yeah, his cadence was spot
Yeah.
on, and
For sure.
yeah, I love Chris Rock, man. Anything he does, I will watch it.
Yeah, for me, I think the heart and soul of this film is like the relationship between Octavia Spencer's character and Jazir Bruno's character. Like I completely bought the grandmother-grandson relationship.
Yeah,
And I liked the sweetness that relationship had. I'm trying to remember in the original film if they even dive into why the kid is on his own with his grandmother. It's been so long since I've seen it, but I thought that the way they set it up and gave him his backstory to explain why he's alone,
yeah,
that was pretty heavy for like a children's film, I think. And like they show it too.
yeah,
Like that shot of him in the car, which was like one of my favorite shots in the film.
yeah. Me too, man. It was really good.
Yeah, but I just love the warmth of Octavia Spencer in that role.
Yeah, well, like the effort she's putting in to try and bring him out of his sadness in the beginning of the movie, I really
Yeah.
enjoyed. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
and like some of like the life lessons and stuff
Yeah,
that she's speaking to him about, I thought were
Mhm.
all really good. And,
Yeah.
and good for kids to take in, right?
yeah, for sure.
Because it is like a heavy topic, but they package it in a way where the right kind of messages are put forward.
Right. I'm trying to remember the line, but I love how she was like, wasn't it something like she felt bad for him, but she doesn't feel sorry for him, or
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that whole in the kitchen.
Yeah.
back
Like I
and
love
forth.
that because she's like she gives him the love and attention he needs to recover, but at the same time she's like, you still got to go on and do what you do. Like you got to live your life, and that's like you said, it's a great lesson for kids.
Yeah, and how
Yeah.
good did those chicken wings
Oh, dude.
that she made look?
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Like every piece of food that was on screen, I was like, God, you're killing me.
It looks so good.
Holy shit! It was.
That was
yeah.
actually one of my favorite shots in the movie when it was just on the chicken wings
Yeah.
and then it panned back, right?
Oh man.
Just to him sitting there staring at him.
Yeah, and then the other scene with that big old slice of cornbread
Yeah.
on the table, I was like, good lord, man.
The-
Yeah, I felt exactly the same way. It's like, man,
I don't know about that split pea soup though. I don't be eating pea soup to begin
Oh, yeah.
with. That shit did not look good.
that's that swanky French pea soup at the end.
Yeah.
No thanks. Who played the hotel manager? He's one of those guys that's like you see him in everything.
He's like the consigliere
Yeah.
of the hotel.
Oh no! It was Stanley Tucci. Yeah.
Oh,
Stanley
who's-
Tucci, he was the hotel like manager. He's been in like everything.
Their casting deal on IMDb is kind of like not in line at all with who's on screen the most.
No,
It's like all over the place.
Yeah, and then Mr. Stringer, the original Mr. Stringer, was
Oh.
played by Rowan Atkinson. So Mr. Bean,
Oh, really?
yeah, he was the original. So yeah, they got like some iconic actors in that role, which is kind of cool. And they're both kind of like the mild mannered, like trying to please everybody kind of deal. But it was cool to see him in that role.
But he is also kind of he's the prime suspect with the passive aggressive racism
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
in this movie.
Yeah, him and even like Bruno's parents to some extent.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, when grandma goes over to talk to him,
Yeah.
they're just like, they give you that look like, what are you doing talking to us?
We got to give homeboy a shout out. The kid.
Oh, Jazeer Bruno?
No.
Like, or the guy who plays, the kid who plays Bruno?
The English kid.
Yeah. Cody Lay Eastick. He's perfect.
He's funny.
He's
some of my favorite lines in the movie.
Can you remember any?
No, they were all, all related to food. All of his dialogue is related to food.
Well, the whole reason he even gets tied up in the mess is because he wants his 6 chocolate bars, right?
Yeah,
Something like that.
I want those chocolate bars too.
But yeah, he was perfect casting. And he's like real similar to the original actor in that role. They're probably all like older than us at this point.
What'd you think? What'd you think of the star?
Yeah, Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
So,
What'd you think of her super performance?
yeah, she went really big at various moments. But when I remember Angelica Houston in the role too, she played it the same way. Like she was real over the top. I think what I liked most about Anne Hathaway's performance is she did a nice. She like walked this tightrope where she was over the top, scary, eccentric, and then like playing the Jessica Rabbit sexy
Yeah.
side to the character all at the same time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was just a blast like watching her kind of take the top off and go huge.
I love when she's the really evil witch.
Yeah.
Like, I love that side of it the most.
Like when she's actually kind of scary.
Yeah, like when she's got the gloves off and her heels off.
Yeah.
And the wig off. Like, I could see that being really, really scary in a darker context.
Yeah.
Because the mouth action is so seamless that it looks really real.
Yeah.
But there was like I had a couple of hang-ups. Like, so was the accent Russian?
I have no idea.
Because it was
to be
kind
honest.
of like from the Rhine to the Urals and all over the place within that geographic zone.
If I remember correctly, too, it's the same accent Angelica Houston had in the original.
Well, I don't think it was terribly consistent. Like there was times when it was like really Russian. There was times when it was like kind of like Swiss German. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know. It was an accent for sure, though.
Yeah.
Real quick, because I'm curious, try and find a still of the witches from like the original 1990 film.
You want me to look it up?
Yeah, like when they're actually in full-on witch mode. And I'm just curious to get your take on like comparing the two.
All right.
Like huge pointy nose.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's like way more freaky.
And so like the way she morphs into that is she literally pulls her face off because it's like a mask.
Oh, that seems like quite a bit more gruesome than what this is.
Yeah. Like they still got the head scratching action going on,
Yeah.
but that's what they looked like. Or at least what she looked like. So as a kid, I remember just being kind of grossed out by that.
Yeah, I could see that. It's got that, kind of rubber mask 90s
Yeah.
deal going on.
Right.
Okay, so I'll put it this way. I can't see that, what the images I'm seeing from the 1991.
Uh-huh.
I can't see that being really dark and good. While this new one, I could see being totally rated R, total horror, and actually really scary. Does that make sense? Like, with how over the top and wacky the witch get up is for the 1990s.
Yeah.
This one is way
It's like a bit more subtle.
Subtle, but like sneaky scarier.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's closer to something that's believable rather than just like to the one from the 90s. And like the parts when she's sniffing around, and
Yeah.
her nostrils are like getting bigger and contracting, expanding and contracting.
Yeah.
I loved that, man.
Oh wow. Okay.
I really liked that.
Yeah.
And you know
they
what?
talk about it.
I think her performance I enjoyed when she was having to do the really kind of crazy physical things more
Okay.
than when she was like deep in monologue in character, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. 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 Totally.
Like I love the scene when she's sniffing along the top of the stage
Yeah.
and then she ends up flipping the whole stage. Like it's awesome, man.
I like.
I could see it being really good and scary as an R, you know.
Oh man. Yeah. When you mentioned that, I never even thought about what a film like this would be in R. It could be pretty creepy. The scene where she's in the room, when she comes into the room, and they're trying to like heist the rest of the potion, like how you have the shot of Grandma there, but then she's just creeping in the back and the front of the hotel room the whole time.
Yeah, when she's behind the headboard.
Yeah, and then like throws the headboard. I was like, yeah, that was kind of creepy. That was the other thing too. Like she has super strength in this movie.
Yeah, it's like how are these mice getting the best of her when
Yeah.
she's got some serious skills and like she like zaps that one witch for insubordination.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, if you have those powers, why are you bothering with potions?
Yeah.
Why don't you just walk down to the beach and zap all the kids? Or zap them
Yeah.
from your balcony, right?
Good point. The other thing I'll mention too that was like it always kind of bothered me in a way because they did it the same way in the 90s version, maybe more so in the 90s version, but like whenever someone takes the potion, they literally start like convulsing almost, like going into a mad like seizure and their bodies just start shaking. I remember as a kid watching the original, that kind of shaking me up just because of like how violent it looked on screen. And in this one too, like it's the same deal. Like they kind of convulse before they turn into whatever they're turning into, like mouse or rat.
I love
And, like,
how
if you
they
watch
all explode out of the ass.
Yeah, yeah.
When the potion finally gets a hold of them, they all just like fart
It's all like purple
into
too, right?
oblivion.
Yeah,
And it's like throughout the whole movie, it's like every single one,
yeah.
they just fucking explode, fart, and turn into something else.
And they're like flying across the room in the dining hall.
I love that, dude. I like really
it's
like that
hilarious.
scene.
But yeah, in the original, they just start convulsing, and then they got like this green smoke coming out of their mouth, and it was kind of creepy in its own way. But I don't know. And of course, that's coming from like the viewpoint of like a 6-year-old. Yeah, for the most part, I thought that it was like an updated take on what the witches would be today, I guess, for an audience today.
Was there anybody not believable for you?
Not really. Everyone kind of worked for me. I think, yeah. I mean, Anne Hathaway, I thought brought like the creepy factor and the kind of comic relief at points. And then, I don't know. My favorite two are just Octavia Spencer and Jazir Bruno. Like, I really liked that dynamic.
Yeah.
Am I missing someone?
I don't think so. There's not a lot of recurring action in the movie as far as characters are concerned. Like all the
I loved
witches, like a few of them have a few lines. That's it.
Yeah, I loved the actress that played the first witch you see in the store.
Yeah.
Like, I liked her. There was just something like creepy about her and scary, and she had like a nice physicality.
It was pretty freaky. That's where I thought it was like gonna get really kind of darker,
Yeah,
but it didn't get there.
yeah.
Say
And I loved.
I want to
Oh,
say
go ahead.
about Anne Hathaway's performance, that's got to be pretty difficult of a role to take on, right?
Oh yeah,
Because you can't really go too far with it, but
Mhm.
you could definitely hold way back. It's one of those
Yeah.
like all or nothing type of characters,
mm-hmm.
and she definitely went for it. So I commend her for that.
Yeah. I thought she did fine, and like some of the, what this film has a 50 on Rotten Tomatoes. Even in the like some of the rotten reviews, like she gets praise in that role. So
I would
I think
expect
the,
it to be a little higher than that, to be honest.
yeah, then like right down the middle at 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess me too. But no, I just loved, like, visually, I like this film a lot.
That it's out of the park visually.
Well, let's get into that a little bit. I think I love the fact that this film is set in the 60s because you get that, like, nostalgia in terms of, like, the costumes and, like, the set design. And then I love how it's set in the South because you get kind of a glimpse of both worlds. Like, you get the lower class, like, look into, like, well, actually that's in the flashback, but then you kind of get the, like, suburban sort of everyday citizen, everyday life kind of look in, like, grandma's house. And then you can see, like, what the rich upper class is doing in the swanky hotel. And there's, like, this elegance in everything. Like, even in grandma's house, there's, like, I don't know, just something kind of...
There's a time when everybody took care of them, or, like,
yeah.
took care not I don't know about just taking care of yourself, but, like, presented themselves
Yeah.
in
I
a
guess
much
that's-
more formal way.
Sure. I guess that's a way of putting it. And, like, I love a lot of the shots in the film. I love the costumes, like the costume design. Like, the dresses that the witches wear are awesome. Like, and I don't think this is an over-exaggeration. Like, this could be nominated for, like, best costuming, I think. Like, with some of the dresses and stuff
Okay.
and, like, the period garb. But yeah, it definitely has, like, a visual style that was really appealing to me. And also, I think there's in terms of the color tone, there's something warm about the frame.
Yeah, it never really had, like, a dark tone.
It's never really blue or cold. It's,
Yeah,
like, always
not
has
really
this
like
warmth.
a scary. It
Yeah.
has more of, like, this kind of uplifting
Right.
type of color palette the whole time.
Yeah. So I really like that. But the two shots in particular that I really kind of just got up and was like, wow, that looks cool, is like we said, the sequence in the beginning where you're like, you start upside down in the car and then go right side up.
Yeah.
That, like, throws you for a loop a little bit. And then I love the shot of the flashback when I think it's Anne Hathaway, right? When she's
The train.
when she's
Yeah.
in front of the train and you get the steam
Yeah.
and she's just reaching over to hand the child, like, a piece of candy.
Alice.
Alice, yeah. That was a beautiful shot. Like, anytime you have a train with steam, they always manage to get these really cool shots.
And you get, like, this kind of muddled view of her
Yeah.
super mouth.
Right.
Yeah, and as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, that's really sweet.
Yeah.
I really love the scene right after that in the same flashback when Alice turns into a chicken.
Yeah.
Like, that was probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie, man.
That's really good CG, too.
It's really good. Like, when she's, brushing her teeth and she just
Yeah.
has, like, the little lump coming out of her neck. That's it. And
Yeah.
it, like, snowballs so quick and she stumbles out onto the porch and freaking poof, it turns into this huge-ass chicken. I
Yeah.
love that, dude.
Yeah. That was, like you said, I was surprised by the the quality of the film. It's a Warner Brothers picture, so I guess we shouldn't be surprised.
I was surprised at the quality of the CG. That's, like, as far as, like, cinematography and all the shots and everything that are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, the CG just really blew me away.
Yeah.
Like, her mouth, the whole time, all the mice, the chicken scene, the snake, like, all of it was so good.
Yeah. I think for me, it was all the set design. Like, I loved the set design.
Okay.
And I love the interior of the hotel. Like, all of the little details of the hotel, like how it's styled.
Yeah.
And, like, the stairways and banisters and, like, the ballroom. I ate that up. I thought that looked really cool.
Did you enjoy the grates on all of the heating vents?
Oh, yeah.
I actually really liked the grates for some reason.
It's all old school.
Yeah.
Like cast iron.
Yeah. It was dope.
Yeah. Really cool. I felt like there was a lot of attention that went into, like, the set design in this film. And I really appreciated that. We already touched on the
I gotta
effects.
say, dude, her mouth is like the star of the movie.
Her mouth.
Like, the way her mouth expands.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm spoiling.
You just weren't
anything.
expecting it, or?
Yeah, like, when I saw they show it to you, that's, like, the first glimpse you get.
Uh-huh.
and then it's in the movie like basically every time she gets mad
Yeah.
after that, and like it looks so good. It's freaking like pretty damn believable.
Wow. Yeah.
I thought not
Sweet.
like from like a just like visually,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess.
because that's like all right. That's all CG.
Oh yeah.
Like when she's screaming and stuff, it's not like she has any type of makeup on or anything.
Nah.
Right? Like
I don't even think you could pull that off practically.
it's really impressive. It made me like kind of really excited for some more CG films coming up for some reason. I don't know.
Damn, that's so cool.
When you see, I don't know, when I see like a really good CG that's believable,
Yeah.
and then I feel like it never just gets to a level and stay there. It's always like, oh, I see it again, like in Mulan, that shitty ass freaking ribbon falcon or ribbon phoenix, dude. It's like, how was that so bad and this was so good? And it's
And this was probably half the budget of that film.
right.
Yeah.
I'm just talking specifically about the graphics on those
Yeah.
two things. How's
Well, I
there that
mean-
much of a difference?
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. I guess it just depends on the art studio you're using to do your CG work.
Yeah.
Because like literally the two biggest points of spending on any film are the post-production on all the special effects and CG and the marketing. And like between films, even with similar budgets, or even when the budgets are completely off, one film can have like way better CG than the other. Like regardless of how much money they spend. So it's pretty interesting.
So I got a question for you about this movie.
What's that?
Is this a HBO dealie, or did they just Warner Brothers sell the rights and air it, like HBO Max bought it instead of putting it out there on demand or something?
Okay, so HBO is part of the Warner Brothers.
Oh, it's all one big dealie?
Yeah, it's part of the Warner Brothers conglomerate.
All right.
So it's a Warner Brothers film. I'm guessing they didn't want to release it on HBO Max, though. Or maybe they weren't expecting to do that.
Like it could have,
Um,
like it was, if
It could have been intended to be
absent
released theatrically.
COVID, it would have been in the theaters.
I would think so.
All right.
Unless it was intended the whole time to be on HBO Max. But I just don't see that happening. I mean, you have Anne Hathaway in the leading role and then Octavia Spencer in this, and then all the creatives behind it. I don't see how this was intentional, like in terms of being on HBO Max.
Okay.
I could have totally seen this in the theater
Yeah.
at some point.
It feels that way.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, it's cool. I'm really happy that more studios are like opening up to the fact, like, why don't we just release it? And I just read a story like this new Bond film coming out. Like they were shopping it around on these streaming services for $600 million.
Jesus.
Yeah, and they were like trying to sell it to Apple, and Apple was like, "Fuck you, we're not paying $600 million for your Bond film."
That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
way more. Do they? Is that what they expect to make?
I guess.
Under normal circumstances in the box office worldwide.
I mean, I'm guessing that's their projection, maybe.
That's a big ass number.
But yeah, that's insane. So like, anytime I see these films go over, I know they're not asking for like $600 million to stream. I don't know. Coming to America, that's streaming on Amazon Prime in December.
New one
Coming to America, yeah.
is Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall,
Really?
James Earl Jones. Yep.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I'm so stoked for that film.
Fuck yeah. I had no idea they were even
Yep.
making one.
That was supposed to definitely be theatrical, and they're just like, yeah, we'll put it on Amazon Prime.
Sweet.
So December. Okay, here's another element of this film that I really enjoyed, too, was the score. I don't know about you.
I was good and bad.
Okay. Was there too much of it?
Too much of the emotional score throughout the kind of whole
okay.
middle of the movie. But
Yeah.
the diegetic stuff and the period music that they were
Right.
playing, I really enjoyed. They
I
played at
liked
the
all
front
the,
and back end of the movies.
Yeah. For me, like, I liked all the over the top spooky like score. And
Yeah,
then all of the
yeah.
upbeat like chase stuff. I loved all that.
I didn't hate it, but I
Mhm.
could have done with less of it.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm kind of that way a lot though with the old
Yeah.
setting the mood
Yeah.
type of music, telling the story
Sure.
by music stuff.
No, I was pleasantly surprised with the score of this film. It was like really rich for me.
Sweet.
And like those are the kind of scores I'm into. But yeah, let's wrap up here. Let's talk about our love hates with the witches. Let's start with you.
I love the CG
Yeah.
all the way. That was like
Sweet.
totally made the movie for me. I loved all of it. I like turned into like a little kid watching a cartoon when they were just with all the mice action,
Yeah.
and it was like an updated, some like kind of nostalgia of Chippendales, Rescue Rangers. Man,
Yeah.
that's what it felt like.
Sweet.
I don't know if I really hated anything about the movie.
Okay.
I just the little kid storylines
Yeah.
just don't engage me very much.
Okay. Yeah, I
That's
don't think
all.
this storyline is like I get what you're saying. It's like it's definitely geared towards children.
Yeah, but I can appreciate that it is for kids, and the
Yeah.
messages
Uh-huh.
for kids are right where they need to be.
Sweet.
So I'll commend them for that.
Yeah.
So basically, what I hate about the movie is just like I don't like these types of stories. Really has nothing to do with the movie itself. It's me.
Okay, sweet. That's awesome, man. I wasn't sure what to expect with your reaction to this movie. I was like, he could hate it, but I'm not sure if he will. I don't know. But as for me, I think it's easier to go with, I guess, what didn't work for me, which wasn't a whole lot. I guess pound for pound, it's really similar to the original. Like, it's really close, and I understand that both of these films are based off of the children's book. But I guess in terms of like the overall story, I was expecting a little bit more from like Robert Zemeckis and Guillermo del Toro, being the creatives behind it.
Like more complexity.
More in terms of like story, yeah, with the complexity.
All right.
But again, that's like my bias coming out because this is like a children's film that's, PG. Having said that, though, I did appreciate that they touch on like serious adult topics in terms of like the racial elements that go on because of the period. I liked how it's dark in its own ways.
How to deal with mortality.
Yeah,
How to
mortality.
deal with loss, right?
Sure. So I really appreciated all that stuff. But then like ultimately I just loved everything to do with the time period and setting of the film. Like with
Right.
the set design, costumes, like as a backdrop for all the really wonderful performances. So I thought, yeah, like definitely the positives of this film outweigh any negative that I may have. But let's try and give it our score. Let's put it into our scoring system.
All right,
So what would
you go
give
first
this?
this time.
You want me to go first? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to give this 4.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a 4. And I would definitely recommend it. Like for families, for kids. It's about to be Halloween on Saturday here in the States. This is coming out, I think, at a perfect time for people to get some enjoyment out of it.
All right.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna come in at 3.5 bong loads
Okay, cool.
because I feel like it kind of hit all the notes technically,
Yeah.
but the story I wasn't into at all, so I'm gonna not give them a point on story.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna knock it down a half just for potential.
Yeah.
Like if it was R and dark, like the potential to do this movie very similar but much darker with how awesome the CG was,
Yeah.
and have bring that storyline into a point. So I'm gonna knock it down because of like the technical side outweighed the story so much.
Oh, okay.
So I'm
I
gonna knock
gotcha.
it back a little bit because it could have been really good at rated R.
All right,
And
sweet.
but to be fair, it is a kids movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I'm at. 3.5 bong loads.
All right, more importantly, though, would you recommend it?
Yeah, it's entertaining.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, if you got HBO Max and
Yeah, it's streaming on
you
HBO
want to watch
Max.
it, it's a Halloweeny movie.
Sure.
Visually, it's pretty entertaining. And I will say it is kind of funny too. There's a lot of really good. I burst out laughing a couple of times. The
Yeah.
part where he's behind the stage, and the grate falls off,
Yeah.
and he verbally out loud says, "Damn, that scared the crap out of me."
Yeah.
I like started laughing really hard, and there was another couple of points where I laughed pretty good, but I can't remember exactly where.
Yeah, so I think overall it's a pretty fun time.
Yeah, and if you do have kids, you can watch it with them.
Oh, yeah, for sure. HBO Max is it's one of my favorite streaming platforms right now. There's so much good content on there.
Yeah.
So even if you wanted to give it a shot, just for a trial.
HBO shit is like a commitment, you know? You start watching an HBO show and you're basically like, well, fuck, I can't watch anything else until I'm done with this.
Yeah.
So I kind of steer clear. But they have some new stuff up recently that I want to get into. I just haven't taken the plunge yet. Probably
Gotcha.
after daylight savings next week, when it gets dark way, way, way earlier, and we flip the clocks, then there'll be plenty of TV time at night.
For sure. All right, man. Well, that's all I have on this movie.
It was better than I expected, man. And
Coming from you, that means a lot. From a kid's PG film?
had a pretty bad attitude about it when I was hitting the play button. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I get you.
So I was entertained.
All right, sweet. Well, that's it from us. That's episode 44 of The Buff and the Blazer. We just kind of broke down the 2020 version of The Witches, directed by Robert Zemeckis. Like I said, be on the lookout for our drop of episode 45, which will be Borat. Our schedules are a little bit up in the air this week, but we will get that out to you at some point. So be on the lookout for that. And until the next episode, everyone, take care and have a good week.
Peace.